Shaft killed well.
The Wheeling Plan Commission meeting for Thursday, March 21st. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Secretary, could you please take the roll?
Commissioner Burns.
Here.
Commissioner Dorband.
Here.
Commissioner Johnson, that's me. Commissioner Powers.
Here.
Commissioner Shaft.
Here.
And Commissioner Stylen.
Here.
And Chairman Rafato.
Here. Mr. Jennings, any changes to the agenda?
We have no changes this evening.
Okay, next item on the agenda is citizen concerns and comments. We have, no one's here right now. We have no consent items tonight, and we'll go into items for review. This is a continuation from last week, docket number 2013-5, Starbucks Coffee, 1085 Lake Cook Road, special use and site plan approval for a restaurant with a drive-through. Mr. Jennings.
Thank you. Before I hand it over to the petitioner, there have been a couple of updates that I wanted to just quickly go through. The petitioner has submitted the building material samples for review, so I will pass them down this direction so we can start that. The petitioner has also submitted a wall-mounted light fixture, the appearance of it at least. If you look at the notes, it is a 19-inch tall fixture, so use your imagination. But that's the light fixture. So the spot on the elevation where you see the circle, which is a placeholder, that would be these sconces. At the hearing last week, there was a request from the commission, several requests from the commission regarding revised drawings. The primary reason for the continuation was so that the various layers of the plan could be updated to reflect the revised site plan. The site plan had been revised to have the drive-through on the north shifted about 3 feet south. And so the petitioner worked to revise the various layers of the plan. We now have those items. The only thing that has changed since your packet was delivered to you is there is a conceptual floor plan among our slides to show what the building would look like if it were flipped. It is not a perfect representation, but it does show how the Starbucks unit would be arranged approximately. So as we go through the slides tonight, you'll see that as well. With that, I'd like to hand it over to the petitioner to answer additional questions and present any other modifications.
Okay, great. Thank you. You've already been sworn in. If you come up and speak, could you give your name and work address again for our recording secretary?
Sure.
Thank you.
It's Mark Jordan, First American Properties. Our address is 1731 North Marcy, M-A-R-C-E-Y Street in Chicago. And open for questions.
Any comments about anything that has changed that you have or anybody else? For you, any comments about anything that Mr. Jennings said?
I have no comments to
Add.
to Andrew's comments and follow up from last week. I think he covered that rather well. There were about 6 to 9 issues that were kind of open, and we have ranging from samples to some layout issues. I think we've met each one of them as of Tuesday by noon, I hope. I don't find that we have any major open items, but I'm here to go through anything you'd like. Our architect, traffic study, representative from Starbucks, and our broker is here.
Okay. Great, thank you. Excuse me. So I will start with Commissioner Dorban.
Thank you. I know we talked about landscaping. Where are we with all that?
Well, we've submitted a new landscaping design,
Okay,
and we're open for discussion on it before it moves, if this is approved, to staff. And again, we're going to irrigate, not only to keep it looking good, but to protect our investment.
what did you decide to do as far as some kind of a, maybe wrought iron fence or something? Did you take that into more consideration?
Yes.
Terry Frisch from Featherstone Consulting, 32 Fawn Ridge Drive in Oakwood Hills. We elected to use landscaping rather than putting a fence up at this point. We have a 3-foot space in there. We feel that's enough width that we don't need a barrier fence or some sort of fence between them, but we heavily landscape that strip between the walk and the driveway. I think that's a softer and a nicer appeal than another fence would be.
I just wasn't sure if you were going to incorporate both. That's why I was asking that. Okay, and the landscaping plan that you have now is the one that we would be approving, am I correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Yes? Somebody-
That's correct.
Yes, okay. The layout, have you got, is that the one you've got in your copy, not in our copy, is that right?
I will, I think it's next here. So this is more of a graphic illustration. The utility location probably end up in the corner where the utilities for the site come in. So, but in speaking with the petitioner, the idea is basically the 180-degree rotation of the two units from the original plan. So this is an approximation of that. The general layout is the same as what you had previously seen, although it's now in the correct unit. And save for the utility location, I think we'll probably lose maybe a couple of seats where the utilities would be, but they may be able to arrange the seats a little bit differently to avoid that.
So this layout here that we have currently, excuse me, is the one that we would approve. And using this layout, how is our parking?
The parking is fine with this. What you would most likely see as the permit drawings are finalized is that there would be an adjustment downward. So what staff would suggest, since our parking requirement is based on seats, is using this number as the maximum. I suspect that they would not be able to fit more than this in that physical space. Do you have any comments on this? Come on.
Thanks. John Bell, Starbucks, 564 West Randolph, Chicago. Yes, this is basically the same plan you saw last time, but it's just been flipped. We've not finalized our interior design for the new space, so the layout could change a little bit, but the seating count is fine. The seating count is the main thing tonight that we wanted to just confirm with you, that we don't anticipate that it's going to exceed the number that you see right here.
And I just want to go back to the landscaping, because what we got is a very small copy, obviously. I just want to make sure that we're getting a substantial amount of evergreen in there, because we're not looking at sticks so much of the winter, you know.
I couldn't agree more.
So I like I said, I can't see from this, just to make sure that it's very hard to see what our little bitty copy is here. So that's why I'm asking.
Why do architects draw so small?
Well, it's, you know, when you're looking at an iPad, it's not very easy either.
It's not easy, is it?
What is on here, having reviewed the full-size version of this, what you see on here are, while not everything is evergreen, there's some of the non-evergreen have winter interest. So the decorative grasses, if you don't cut them down, the first day of fall, you can leave them up. And you see many businesses will leave their decorative grasses up over the winter and then cut them down in the spring. So there are some plants like that where, depending on how you maintain them, actually can look nice over the winter, even though they're not evergreen. There are evergreens along this area here, screening. If you look at the full-size version, it's a little bit easier to see, but these are evergreen. There's some evergreen along the back of the patio, and some decorative trees. The one thing that did change, I would say, other than having the decorative grasses in the front, the one thing that did change is the size of the trees along Lexington. They increased the initial planting size of those trees so that they would be more mature. I think they are 4-inch. Other than that, everything is pretty similar to what was
That's all my
previously.
questions for now. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Schaaf.
Thank you. Last time we met, I brought up the Lake Cook project. If you're satisfied that that project is not going to interfere with anything, then I'm satisfied.
3 of us have investigated it, and then we came together with what our findings were. And the bottom line, I'm so sorry. The bottom line, we would not change anything because we're going to have, from how we view it now, a buffer of as much as 11 feet if they do widen it. We also found that while it is planned for 15, I believe, again, it's planned.
What century? What century?
And if it does go, it doesn't affect us. So we wouldn't change anything from where we're at. I do appreciate knowing about it, obviously.
Yeah, I think that what they will do is they do plan on lopping like a triangular portion of the site right at the corner to get the sidewalk through, because they're going to actually pull the street back about 12 feet from where it is now, but we have a 22-foot distance from the property line to the current street line, so it'll be down to about a 10-foot distance.
Okay.
But what they're going to end up doing, though, in order to make the sidewalks connect onto Lexington, they will actually steal a triangular piece off of the corner, which won't affect, it'll affect the kind of the little landscaping area, but it won't affect the building itself nor the drive-through.
Yeah, I just didn't want to see you go through all the expense of putting everything in, and then the county come along and rip it all out, and then have to put it back in again.
Yeah, from what we can see on the proposed plan, at least, there's like a 3-foot temporary easement that they're going to request just for the construction. I don't know how effective that'll be, but it's a temporary kind of easement that's there.
Okay. The only other comment is the irrigation that that I've seen, and on my copy, the only thing is a note that the landscaper has said that per the owner's request. That irrigation is only for the building site, just what we see here. You're not going to extend that down Lake Cook at all for any of those?
When we submitted the drawings and asked for bids, that was what was specified. We haven't guaranteed anything yet.
Okay.
I want to go back to it and see if we're able to extend that within budgets. It would be my preference.
Yeah.
We've got a parking lot to do and a facade on the main building. But more importantly, as I mentioned last week, we've got a new roof on the main building. We've got HVAC units.
Right.
And there'll be a lot of oopses, as there always is with this.
Okay, but as planned right now, it's just for the building. Yeah.
Correct.
Essentially, that landscaping that's around the building.
Absolutely correct.
Okay. Back to the parking lot drawing. When a customer goes past the building and uses that east entrance, there's parking stalls, okay, on that, which would be the west side of your property. Okay, as they come down, is the cars forced to use that west drive and then back up to get into the line?
Yes, you have to go all the way up to the building and then back across the front of the building and...
Okay, so there's no way that they could actually cut off right from the entrance?
No.
And just...
Into that
Okay.
line? No.
There's cement...
Yeah, it's curbed all the way down, and there's a landscape strip in between.
Okay. Because there's going to be drivers that'll want to do that.
Well, they'll have a tough time.
They're going to have a tough time. Yeah. You'll pick up a lot of mufflers that way.
Right.
Yeah, I just wanted to, if there's a barrier of some kind to keep those cars out of the, it'll be almost like a U-turn.
Yeah.
If you look at the drawing over on the east side to make that. Now, if you take your cursor and move it all the way over to the east side, yeah, right there. So that drive, those parking stalls just below the cursor, as you see it.
This?
Yeah, all of those things there.
So those are only accessible from the parking lot.
From the parking,
Parking lot side.
from the parking.
Yeah, so there's a curb between, there's a curb on the little street side. There's also a curb on the parking lot side, so
Right.
they'd
So
have to go up over a raised curb area to get across there, so
Yeah.
I don't see.
Knowing some people that, they're just gonna jump that thing and, it could happen. I'm not saying it is, but I just wanted to make sure that there was some type of a barrier that was there.
Yeah, there's a curb there. I didn't foresee us putting anything additional or a wall or a fence or anything there.
That's fine.
I mean, it wouldn't be any different than somebody coming off of Lake Cook and just jumping right across the, I don't foresee them doing
Yeah.
that either.
And the only entrance that I see to your building, there's two entrances. Okay, right off the patio. Is there access from the sidewalk that's on Lexington Drive through that patio area? Or do they have to actually go down?
It's not through the patio.
It's faint here, but you can see it.
Yeah, there's a walk intended on the south side of the building
Right.
from Lexington Drive. The walk across the exit of the drive-through along the front of which would be basically the front of the building, which would be the south side.
Right.
But
Okay.
we didn't really directly connect the patio to the street. We did provide a small access point for somebody exiting out of there that they could get to the drive itself, but not all the way to the street.
Yeah, because I believe the fire inspector talked about that second exit.
Yeah, well,
So that there's enough room that they could actually, in case of an emergency, use that exit to get out.
Yeah, we created a small space beyond the end of the fence. If you look at where the fence line curves around, there's a little rectangular space that connects the patio to the drive area. That would be where somebody could actually exit off the patio onto the drive. Again, I didn't carry it any further than that because that clearly allows me a space to get out of the
Right,
area.
and you just need a trail to exit that building.
Right.
Yes.
Again, things haven't been quite finalized just yet, but one of the things that we don't want to do is have people walk across the drive-through lane. So if we had access to the patio, it would be from the sidewalk in front of the store. So
Okay.
back to the landscape plan, right now, I hadn't seen this yet. If somebody could put that back up again. Right now, we're not showing any connection between the sidewalk and, when I say the front, the entrance to the store, the main entrance is going to be on the south side of the building.
On the south side.
So, but I think ideally we'd want to do is try to connect that sidewalk to the patio so that if somebody wanted to leave or come into the store from that direction, they'd have the option to do that. And we may also be able to put a secondary door in there as well someplace. And the other thing that's not shown here, we'll have a back room and it'll probably have a separate door from where that patio door is shown. And again, all of this would be done per code, and we'd make sure that we had the appropriate number of exits per fire code, et cetera.
Right.
And we just haven't gotten that far in the details yet.
Yeah, because you don't want people to bunch up and not be able to have a path out of there in case of an emergency.
Yeah, I mean, we'll have a railing all the way from the corner of the building on the north end of the building where the patio is. That'll be a railing all the way down to the sidewalk, all the way down to where the parking, clear to the end.
There just needs to be a path that they can, when they exit out that side, out the west side of the building, that they don't just bunch up.
Right, they'll be able to walk up to the sidewalk or to the parking lot on the side of the building there.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Very good. Okay, I see you put your bike racks in, and that's good. Mr. Chairman, that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Burns.
It's a good revision. Thanks for your work. I have no additional questions, Mr. Chairman.
Great. Commissioner Steilen.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. A couple things. We just talked about some doors around the patio side of the building, but if I look at the building elevations on page 18 and 19, I don't see any places for doors that I think, unless they're these big, whatever they are, in the back, in the wayfront area, but I would presume that's windows for the seating area, right?
Yeah, we haven't shown that door that he's talking about on this plan. This is something new that hasn't been reflected on the tenant's layout at this point, so we hadn't shown it on the elevations.
I guess I'd like to see plans that actually reflect what the building is going to look like. And while we're on this page, Andrew, could you go to the north elevation, please? That's the side, the top view is the side of the building that is going to be facing Lake Hook Road, that's going to have an inordinate amount of traffic passing by it every day. And from what I can see, based upon some of your calculations, right, the wall of the building is going to be about 23 feet after the state takes their little piece. The wall of that building will be about 23 feet off the roadway. And the only thing that's visible on that side of the road is going to be your little drive-up window. And the landscaping that's immediately adjacent to that 3-foot driveway appears to be just installed with grassy type things. How tall does that grass get, do you know?
I don't know. I believe it was 3 to 4 feet.
I was wondering, is there some room in that 3-foot island area to put some, maybe decorative trees of some kind that might break up the view of the building a little bit, rather than just seeing one massive 80-foot wall of red brick?
Yes.
Maybe some nice low level, crabapple trees or something that don't grow too tall nor too wide. You know what I mean? That would fit nicely in a 3-foot.
I couldn't agree more, and we'll address that with the final. submittal to staff, I hope.
Okay, the other thing that, and I think Norm touched on it a little bit, maybe it was Pam, but the irrigation system that you're planning on putting in, and I know at the last meeting you said you really wanted to spruce up the area, and tonight you said it'd be nice, we haven't worked out the budget maybe to extend the irrigation system further down Lake Cook Road or further up Lexington, but as long as you're going to be engineering that thing, the irrigation system, could you make it big enough to accomplish potentially in the future extending it? That way you won't have to dig it up or find an alternate route to navigate. It would seem to be a very cost-effective thing just to maybe stub it off now and
Yes.
add to it in the future.
I agree.
Yes, definitely.
Okay, and the other thing that bothers me a little bit is that exit area, that little cutout area by the railing and the patio. You know, I think a sidewalk going to the front might be nicer than exiting into the drive-through lane. But if you can't do that,
You know, from the north patio to running south, is that, am I following it correctly?
yeah, I think that would be nice if, you know, there aren't any fire hydrants or fire connections or anything that might impede that. But if you can't do a sidewalk running north there, could you at least stripe the driveway where people might exit, just to let them know that there's a entryway into the patio? Yeah, I don't want to imply that it's a walking path for people to walk on, but if indeed people do use it, I'd like the cars to know that
There
people
could be a pedestrian
walking.
coming across,
Yeah.
and you can achieve that with, the asphalt, but you're better off to have some sort of a sign there too.
Something, but I mean, just something to let the drivers know that there might be people there, although, like I say, I think the sidewalk going north would be a much safer approach.
Now, when you say from the north leading south.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Sidewalk, no problem.
I'm going the
I wanna make
wrong
sure I
way on the
understand.
plan from
Yeah,
the,
I'm not sure it's a, you know, I don't know that, I think everybody would agree it's probably not a good idea to encourage them to exit the drive-through. So it might be a better idea then for us to give them a clear egress path from north to south to a
And maybe-
sidewalk that is across the front of the building.
and maybe you don't even want to put a sidewalk. If it was just a gravel path or some kind of path that people would know they could walk on, and, because you probably don't want people coming in that side patio door.
We can achieve that, and I think that's a very good suggestion. We can do that.
Okay, so that's my only questions for now. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Commissioner Powers. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Andrew, can you pull up the landscaping plan is up. What areas on this plan were actually going to be irrigated? Was the intent to irrigate the north area where the grasses were on the north side of the drive-through and going over towards the corner of Lexington and Lake Cook? That area, was the intent to irrigate that also?
That's correct. Actually, if you know better than I, but I think from the drive-through where it starts, and it's going to
Yeah.
all the way around.
Okay, and then everything around the building, and then where you had to cut the island on the south side of like that new parking lot area, that area would be irrigated also, correct?
It
Okay.
is. The islands present a unique problem, but we will irrigate that. Islands gain heat of 120-plus degrees in the summer, and trying to get anything there it's tough. It's very tough. I find that, I'll be honest with you, I find that some of the other islands, you're better off to have a nice decorative tree with a metal grate and concrete the rest. Now, that's, I mean, I don't know any other way to say it, because between salt in the winter and so forth, after doing this for 41 years, I haven't found a better solution.
Oh, that's understandable.
But our intent is to irrigate and landscape that one to try and tie it all together. That's,
And I mean, just looking at the landscaping plan in general, I mean, I've looked at some of the stuff that you put in on the web. It looks really nice. I mean, you did a lot of work there. Last week, there was the concern of the parking lot on the south side of the building, the new parking lot area, that, are we okay by we pushed the building 3 feet back towards the south, that parking area is still acceptable as far as parking space and the distance in between the rows and everything, that's fine?
Yeah, it meets the standards.
not only that, it's a better layout, and
I agree. I just wanted to make sure you were
I'd like to take
comfortable with
credit
it.
for it, but I think somebody else had a lot to do with it.
Okay. The railing that's along the patio, does that strictly cover the patio area, or that was the intent, correct? Or were you extending that further down the south side of the building?
The initial intent was just to do the patio, but my understanding is they want to continue that all the way to the south walk there now, along that whole side.
Okay.
Which is fine. We're quite willing to do that.
Okay.
Again, that'll keep people there instead of wandering off, not just adults, but kids. And it's probably a better way to go.
Okay.
For safety reasons.
Can you talk at all about the awning that's going to be over the drive-through? What is there going to be an awning? What kind of covering is there going to be over there?
Yes, there will be an awning over there. We haven't detailed that yet at this point, but there will be some sort of a 3-foot awning or something sticking out.
Probably be metal and green.
I wouldn't say that, no.
Why isn't that on?
Yeah, I just was kind of wondering about what kind of material that would be. I don't know. I wouldn't want to see something there that would possibly tear or something that would last. I don't know.
I think, to Commissioner Powers' standpoint, since you have to come back for a sign package, that awning we'd like finalized by then.
Okay.
That's fine. Thank you.
Are there any sprinkling concerns with awnings nowadays?
Not at 3 feet.
Not at 3 feet. Yeah.
All right, I guess the last question is the trash enclosure being moved in back of the retail. I guess I have to ask that question. I see where you've relocated that. The existing tenants in the south side of the building, do they have like individual containers for their trash?
Well, go ahead. They do.
There are three existing, three enclosures on the back side of the building in that south lot. They have individual containers within that for the stores.
Okay, so this would be adding an additional container off to the west end back there, right?
Correct.
And they'll match, the existing are brick and the new one would be also.
Okay. And then like the plan, I mean, would there be any kind of like a planned route or how the garbage would end up getting out there? I mean, would the intent like try to be to go out the side down the drive-through and walk in the back there? Or I know it's kind of a tough question, but has anything been talked about as like how the garbage would get back there eventually? Because I know there was a concern raised about garbage blowing around all over the place.
Yeah, I hear you. Our stores, they keep the large dumpsters inside with rollers on it, like what you see that sit out on the side of the curb, that it's easily moved by one person. and that's what's used to transport the trash. We keep all of our trash in plastic bags, sealed, and then those are taken over to the dumpster. We have a separate, we'll have a separate receptacle for recyclables, and then those are separated in a different dumpster, and then we'll have a recyclable bin, and we'll have a regular trash bin back here, and then that's how they get transported over there. So that we won't be dragging bags across the parking lot. It'll be inside of a dumpster with a lid on it and wheeled over to the trash receptacle.
Okay, that's great, because I was hoping you'd say something like cart, but I didn't know if that was possible.
Yeah, no, that's how we do it in all of our stores, actually.
The last question is, when the south parking lot gets done, are you going to like reseal coat, that part of the parking lot, or are you just gonna just restripe it or anything like that? Any like upkeep to the parking lot? Because I'm sure there's gonna be a lot of dump trucks and stuff going through there, and I just was wondering if there wasn't any intent.
At this point, I think the intent is that whole south of the building would have to be redone. We're doing all new curbs. We're reconfiguring that lot in such a way that I think that whole section, due to construction, at least that whole section, and I believe there's plans eventually to redo the entire parking lot. But as part of this phase of the work, it would just be that south section.
I have no other questions. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Commissioner Johnson.
Thank you. Well, I think just about everything was covered. The last thing I had was the trash enclosure question. That is a long way to go to haul your trash out.
It's a long way to go, but I think it's the best solution we have for this particular site. We looked at trying every other place we could think of putting it. It was either in somebody's front door or somebody's back door, or it wasn't accessible from
the garbage truck. Yeah.
So I mean, that seemed to be ultimately the best solution that we could come up with.
Okay, I don't think I had anything else. Thank you.
Thank you. A couple of questions around the demolition. When you demo this building, what happens to the materials like the bricks? The brick, are those recycled? And anything on the interior?
A majority of the brick on the existing building aren't worth saving. The majority of the building, at least the back 3/4 of it, are actually a thin brick. It's only a half-inch brick that's glued onto a plywood panel. Those certainly wouldn't be worth saving at all. And the only solid brick at the front is terribly deteriorated. It has gotten water in it, and the brick is actually spalling off. If you go to the front of the building, half of the brick is on the ground at this point.
Okay. So when it gets demoed, how much space are you going to fence off when it's ready to be taken down? And how much will that impact the existing customers that are there?
I don't know. We've actually looked at that in total, but I'm assuming that we'd certainly want to keep it to no more than that south lot portion of the lot, keeping the rest of the existing lot to the east available for customers for the center. And we'd have to obviously maintain the drive access into that space. So at most, I would say that would be what we'd encompass.
Great. Okay, thank you. And I know you added the traffic study to this document. From commission standpoint, does anybody have any questions about the traffic study? I know it was taken, and Mr. Abuna's here, so if any questions about that right now. The way I interpret this is that it's not going to increase any of the traffic. If Mr. Abuna, were you sworn in at the last?
Yes, he was.
Okay, great, thank you. So for my satisfaction, how are you doing?
Good about you. Yes, like I testified last time, this use attracts most of its traffic from the existing traffic. In this case, will be Lake Cook Road. So the majority of it would be people that in the morning that are already from their home to their work, and they happen to stop and buy their coffee and whatnot, and then continue straight on Lake Cook. There might be some new trips made in the morning and the evening, but it's not going to be significant enough to make any difference to the...
Any significant increase to Lexington Drive coming from the south?
Again, if there is any, that would be probably mostly generated locally by the neighborhood. We don't foresee people that are on McHenry wanting to come all the way here and, cut through the neighborhood just to buy coffee. They'll have other opportunities, obviously, on their way.
Okay, great. Except, though, that this is really the last site before you get to the tri-state going east, so...
Well, if you're going east, then you'll be on Lake Cook Road. You won't be on McHenry.
Yeah, right, that's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah.
Good point. Thank
Yeah.
you. Okay, so nobody has any questions? I just wanted to make sure that we're good with that. Thank you, Mr.
All right, you're welcome.
Does anybody else have any other comments? And I was just going to go for a couple of things, but go ahead, Commissioner Stylin.
Outside trash receptacles, how much outside seating and stuff do you think will really be used? Will people be eating a lot outside? Do we need some trash receptacles out there on the patio and maybe even by the front door or something, somewhere?
Yeah, I believe on this plan, by that door, there's a little round circle. If you see that double door going out to the patio there, yeah, I believe that's a trash receptacle. I mean, and we possibly would have something outside as well. So, there's...
How about on the south, the south by the main entrance door? Do you think, will people... I mean, you know your business better than I do.
Yeah, well, I think in some shopping centers, as part of the common area, sometimes you'll see trash cans like that. I don't know if in this particular center, if there are trash receptacles for the shopping center.
But you're pretty far away from the rest of the centers.
Right, but we don't plan on putting any trash receptacles in front of our store. But sometimes in shopping centers, there are periodic trash receptacles located periodically throughout the shopping center. And if there's one here as part of the shopping center trash program, then, we would that may be okay, but we don't plan on having one in front of the store.
And would you be willing to put one in the outside patio area?
That would make sense to me.
Because, if you're going to have that pathway going...
Yeah, but there'll be one by each door going in and out of the store, and if we add that path, right, the way this was designed, people had to come back through the store to leave, but if we have a path going back to the parking lot, that would make sense to have one out there.
Okay.
Sure.
Thank you. And then the next thing, Andrew, we talked about some trees in that little 3-foot landscape area. Would it be better to put trees on the north side of the sidewalk in the Lake Cook Road frontage, if you will?
They would do better, like a parkway tree would probably do better. The fact that there are none anywhere near there leads me to believe that the county probably has regulations about parkway tree placement. That'd be my guess. Normally, if it's a village-controlled street, you would see them. The county may have some restriction. They would, in my limited experience, they would do better in the parkway than they would in 3 feet.
Do you guys have any idea? I mean, you've got trees out there now, but they're on your property as opposed to the other side, closer to the road. Do you know if the county wouldn't allow that? I think they'd survive better if they were.
I can't answer for the county. I would approach them. And what I'm hearing is you'd like to see that north side that looks
stark. Nice, but stark.
Right. Dressed up somewhat.
Right.
And I'm not opposed to it at all as long as it doesn't block signage and block the merchant's property.
Yeah, that's why I say some kind of a short, bushy, crabapple-ish tree. They don't. Landscapers know a lot better than I do, so.
Well, I guess my only concern is if the road construction goes through, I mean, they're gonna narrow that strip down to 4 or 5 feet too, so, I mean, we may not have much left once it's done.
Could you also do something creative with the brick too on that side? I mean, you've got this big, massive canvas there.
Or a fake window maybe, or something like
Well,
that?
Yeah, possibly, but I mean, something that adds some character there besides landscaping. I mean, I agree with Commissioner Steinle, that looks like the back of a building, personally. You know, it really does.
Sort of is the back of the building, unfortunately, because the
Okay,
front's
so
on the other side.
so then let's, if you could creatively add something that's not
Yeah,
going to.
we could do some decorative insets or something, or changing
Exactly.
materials a little bit or something.
With a little more landscaping, I think that would, I think that would add.
We could change a brick pad or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, certainly.
Right, and something that doesn't impact the name of Starbucks, you know, put a coffee cup there, who knows?
Yeah, we like creative signs.
Right, yeah, we do, so. And
So
I think
how about,
that's a good point.
you know, if we do have some, I think I'd prefer ornamental
Right.
trees. Any idea how many? 3 or 4? Is that pretty good for a 80-foot building, Andrew, or?
Well, it can't be anything that spreads out very far
Probably,
because
yeah.
it's going to be right on
Depends on
top
the
of
type
the
of crab apple you're
drive-through.
talking about, but probably in the neighborhood of 3. The way it's written right now, in this condition, I said 2 to 3 along the north side, unless a parkway tree is possible. But I would leave that to their, the type of tree, the crab apples that they're looking at, I think, are low spread, 10-foot spread, 15-foot tall. They're not particularly large, but they would break up. You got a 15-foot diameter on a tree. You can't put it too close to the next one, so 3 about.
3 or 4, I think.
Right.
We have a consensus on that?
I would venture a guess to say, yes, I'll make that decision. Yes, we have a
3 or 4?
consensus.
If the driveway is.
Was that it, Commissioner?
That's it, thank you.
Commissioner Dorban, you mentioned a fence for splitting up something, but then what area were you talking about?
We were referring to around the patio.
Okay, but you said that there is a fence going to be there.
It curves, and we were going to stop it. The consensus, I think now, from everyone is take it all the way up to the sidewalk on the south side of the building, if I'm not mistaken.
Last week, we were also talking about along the drive-through
Okay.
on the Lake Cook side.
So the fencing is just going to be around the patio area?
Yeah.
And
Well,
taking it all the way to the south side?
correct.
Okay. great.
Which we would just extend it down to the south. I don't think it was depicted on the pictures.
Okay.
Well, on the drawing, it says a railing, so we're just going to continue that all the way up south, correct?
Right,
Is that-
correct.
Okay.
Here to kind of balance.
Okay, we probably just need to make sure that's
Signs.
noted somewhere.
Did you, Commissioner
No.
Dorban noted the fencing going to the south, extending to the south,
Toward,
Towards
Towards the
into
south.
the property.
into the property, right?
Yeah, is it possible to balance the fence that's going to be on the west side of the building with a little short fence on the east side by the future tenant, that where
Where
the
the
entrance,
driveways-
yeah, where the
drive-through
entrance is, that might provide a little balance on,
Right. Well, absolutely, absolutely. And it's where future tenant is.
Right.
So there's the building, so you'd want it to curve back, thank you, Andrew.
up to where the sidewalk is, or,
That would serve a lot of purposes. Safety, and aesthetically, it would tie in, but.
well, you have
It's a
to,
safety issue.
yeah, you're going to have to block out a little space because that's where is that where your reader board and speaker are going to be? Right in that area too, so you'd have to fit it in more decoratively, I guess, in there somehow.
that shouldn't pose a problem.
Yeah, I would think, I don't know, it's hard to see the board on that site, on that plan. You can see it better on the overall site plan. But yeah, I would think from the building, at least to the board, you could do a fence or something in that area.
And I'd like to see the fence go down to where the sidewalk, I presume that's going to be sidewalk that kind of curves in there?
No, the free flow area is actually just going to be grass in there.
Oh,
The sidewalk
okay.
just angles up towards to the lot there.
No problem.
I'll go first.
Mr. Chairman?
Hold on one second. These two samples, where specifically, and if you talked about them last week, I apologize.
No, we didn't.
did
This is
not.
the first time we
Okay,
presented them.
good. So where are these going?
The
specifically?
intent was to use the lighter color on the taller canopies and the darker color on the shorter canopies.
Okay.
And
Okay, everybody understand that one? Okay, cool. And then, speaking of the brick, I assume, since you happen to bring it up, this is the color of the brick, right? Everybody can see that? And anybody have any issues with any of this, any of the colors? No?
this brick is pretty close to the existing
This is
building brick.
building? Right, right.
So that's why I think we've just selected, trying to match the existing center, which was going to maintain.
So how is this constructed? Is this full brick on this?
This will be full brick.
Okay, great, thank you. Commissioner Powers?
One last thing, would you be up for putting planter baskets on the railing, spread a couple planter baskets out on the railing like you have in Arlington Heights?
Sure.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
Commissioner Burns?
Yeah, Andrew, when you're working on planting some trees on that north side, keep in mind that that drive-through lane is doubling as a fire lane, and we can't plant anything that's going to impinge on the space needed to maintain the fire lane.
The north side, I'm not sure that it is doubling as a fire lane. I think the intent was the street on that side and access the parking lot from the other two sides.
I'll reread the fire department memo.
Need to be, I think I don't think it's large enough to be a fire lane.
Okay.
The drive adjacent to the landscape area
Disregard.
and front walk of the east side of the building shall be posted as fire lane. Turning radius, okay. Are you okay with them?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Stoney?
The multicolored parapet areas, that bothers me a little bit as to why you chose two colors, unless you can tell me kind of where your signs are going to be, because your signs might actually complement two different colors.
We envision the primary signs being on the taller parapet areas in the lighter background.
Okay, and then the darker one would just be plain.
Just be a plain.
So yeah, I think that would work pretty good. I mean, that'd differentiate the two, so thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, I just want to make sure that we cover a couple of things before we go here. We talked about and around irrigation. So right now, there is no plans to irrigate all of Lake Cook Road, but plans to have it built out for a fit later on, is the way I understood it, correct?
That's what was suggested.
That was suggested, Mr. Jennings, that in your
The
notes?
extent of the irrigation, as I understood it, based on the plan, was the area that you can see here.
Okay, great.
Yeah. We agree, though, that we'll size the connection for future extension down Lake Cook.
So do we have consensus with that?
Yes.
Nodding your head is fine for me right now. We mentioned that the door, there's a west side door that's not depicted on the drawings. Is that something that we can live with right now as long as the final plans before they go to the village board are updated?
Is it going to be like just a fire door, an emergency door, steel door, or is it going to have windows, glass?
Typically, it's just a man door or just a service door.
Well, I guess what we would ask is that conceptually, the materials, the design, the look is going to be consistent, but where that door is and where those windows fall will have a lot to do with how that store gets laid out. We plan to have, that's showing a double door or a door, it may not be a double, it could be a single door that would go out to the patio. There'll probably be 3 doors in this space, I would imagine, because there'll be a back room that will need an access door, because we don't want to be running trash through the cafe. So that's the one thing that I can't say where that door is going to be, but conceptually, the look of this building, the materials, all of the design that you're looking at will be pretty much the same, except when we come before the board, we'll have a final plan, we'll have a final layout that actually has the actual depiction of the floor space and how it's going to be utilized. And I apologize that we couldn't get that exactly for you tonight, but we tried and just couldn't get it.
Well, I mean, it makes, if the west side elevation is the side that has the patio on it, and now we're going to put some kind of sidewalk or something, path, something, and now you're going to have a man door on that same side, on that west side, that you're going to carry garbage out into, you probably would want to have a sidewalk there too, for the person that's walking out of that door. Right.
Again, the designer here that's here tonight did a design based on, it's a conceptual design. He did this without having the benefit of knowing exactly how we were going to lay the space out. So that door, the double door, could be moved further to the south. There could be a door closer to where that door is now. It just depends where this back room ends up falling. I think there's probably going to be more glass on this wall than what you're currently seeing. I don't think that's going to be the final representation of that, of how much glass may be on that, because the cafe will be located toward the south end of the space, and right now there's a brick wall there. And except for the storefront on the south side, it doesn't, it may not look exactly like that. So if anything, it's going to be, I think it's going to look a lot better when we get done with it, but we'll have to, and I know this is an appearance review, but the main objective would be to meet code, to be code compliant, to have doors within the locations that are necessary for fire exits and so forth.
Yeah, not to say that you're going to do anything you're not going to do, but there have been times in the past where people have said, well, we're just going to install a door there, and then what we ended up with was not only a door, but a bunch of electrical conduits and plumbing and gas piping that ran around the building. So, you know, that's why we would really like to see what exactly you're planning on doing, so that, you know, we can hold you accountable for doing it.
Right. Well, I can't speak for the owner, but I know last week he said he wasn't going to have anything exposed on the exterior. We wouldn't want that either. And you know, there is an electrical service box coming in showing on this drawing. I don't know that that's going to necessarily move, but again, I think that the main objective here tonight is to just get consensus on the overall design, and perhaps staff, subject to staff's further review and approval of what we come up with, then, you know, maybe that would be sufficient.
It's my only comment, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
I have a question. How can we move this along but still have an opportunity to see what this is going to look like before it goes to the trustees, in case we have some issues, we can address it before it gets there. How do we do that?
There's a couple of things I can suggest. The representation that we've just gotten is that this is the minimum standard of what they intend to construct. So far, what we've heard are that there would be a possible service door. So what I've drafted while everyone was speaking was a condition relating to the service door that it be colored to blend with the brick. On the other doors, the condition that I've written is that additional doors into the store area shall match the treatment of the main entrance, the storefront style framing. And then I haven't written one yet. I did have a condition on the north elevation. I haven't written anything on the west, but on the north elevation, something we could do is a condition that says the elevations as presented are considered to be the minimum standard. The north elevation shall include a depression in the brick or some other design feature to break up the facade. Something like that might be.
Well, I like all the conditions and the obvious wording to get us to that point. But how can we see that what's being done or what the final outcome of what they design get to us before it gets to the trustees?
Well, I guess that's the question. I mean, if the Plan Commission is uncomfortable with the concept of the door, as shown on the screen right now, moving further south and an additional service door being added near the service area, you can take a consensus and see how you feel. But I guess the question for the commission is, based on what's presented, is there a comfort level knowing that these doors might shift slightly and there might be a service door?
Well, it's not just the doors, though. We talked about doing some additional landscaping on the north side of the building, doing some kind of embellishment on that north side of the building as well. So, I mean, there's a couple of things that I would feel comfortable in just seeing before. I mean, I don't want to stop this and not let it go forward, but I do want to have some control over what it looks like before it gets to the trustees in case we have questions.
Well, having it come back before it goes to the trustees would be continuing it. Right?
Pardon me? Repeat that again.
Have a recommendation that includes it coming back before it goes to the trustees would be effectively the same as continuing it. So I have, right now there are 8 conditions of approval. I can flip through them one by one and see if there's a consensus based on that. If not, if they're not,
I mean, certainly
don't
they've been
address
more
it.
than accommodating with us and agreed to everything we've asked for, and I appreciate that. And maybe I'm the only one that feels like that. So Mr. Chairman, if we could just take a.
I've got one more thing, Jim.
And
If I may.
Commissioner Dorban, I will
Okay.
take you up on that. Yes, Commissioner Johnson.
Since you're no longer using the original foundation, you're tearing down the whole building and everything, is it worthwhile moving the utilities and getting the patio to the front of the building? And I think that would alleviate some of these other concerns.
Well, actually, we are using the majority of the foundation. We're just moving it. I mean, we're keeping over half of it, are we not, Terry?
No, we're keeping 2 sidewalls, basically.
I can't.
I know moving the utilities is a big thing, but
It's extremely expensive.
But getting the patio up front would maybe make some other things work out better for you. That way you can have your service entrance, your emergency exit, whatever, at that north end.
Well,
Have your nice patio. You wouldn't have the need for the utility room in basically the middle of that wall on the inside.
the only thing that, and I have to address this with people more skilled in this area, but I've been told on several occasions that the cost of moving that utility feed far exceeds what we can do. That's what I've been told.
I just wanted to throw it out as a
That's what
thought.
I've been told. Now, I'm going to explore I'm going to explore that again on Monday. The gentleman I need to talk to, Steve Spina, will not be back until Monday. But he has repeatedly told me what the cost would be in terms of that. And yeah, we've moved the building for a lot of reasons, but we're still retaining a substantial amount of the foundation. I don't know that it's going to move. I got to be honest.
I'm just throwing it out as another thought.
I did hear Andrew say there are, how many items?
As the motion is written right now, I've got 8 conditions based on the conversation.
Can we go through those?
Sure.
I want to make sure I've got them all.
So, we're going to
Irrigation,
do,
possible extension,
we'll get that.
I'll go through it.
We'll go through that.
I'm sorry.
Any other comments? So what I'd like to do is, what I'd like to have Andrew read through the conditions, one, and then I will take a poll as to whether, and I'm going to try to make this as simple as possible, whether you as a commissioner think it's significant enough that we would request that they come back again with plans that aren't conceptual, that that introduce the 8 conditions that we have right now, that we would request them to come back. Okay, so Mr. Jennings, if you could read those right now, the 8 conditions that you have.
Sure. First one, that the additional doors to the store area shall match the main entrance with service doors colored to blend with the brick. Number 2.
I'm sorry, Andrew, you lost me on number 1. The service door is going to be a color to match the brick, but the entrance doors are going to be consistent to look like entrance doors.
Yes, so if there's a patio entrance that moves, relocated, however, it'll match the
main
storefront style framing.
Right. Okay, thanks.
Number 2, that 3 to 4 crabapple trees shall be added along the north side unless parkway trees are possible. Number 3, the petitioner work with staff to connect the patio to the main walk on the south side of the building. Number 4, the patio railings extend to the east of the building and to the walkway south of the patio. So those are the 2 segments of railing that we were talking about. Number 5, that the drive-through awning design be included with the sign review package. Number 6, the north elevation include a depression in the brick or similar feature to enhance the facade. Number 7, that the irrigation system is designed to accommodate future expansion toward to the shopping center. Number 8 is the motion shall be updated to reference the light fixture, brick sample, and EFIS samples provided at the meeting.
So does everybody as a commission understand those 8 conditions right now? Okay. Excuse me, I'll start with Commissioner Schaaf. The question is, are these significant enough to warrant a return to the Plan Commission to review these for final, before they go to the Village Board? I'm sorry.
I'm comfortable with what is presented unless there is movement of that utilities. That would throw everything, that we have. Conceptually, what you're saying is that utility is going to go there, it's going to stay there. You're not going to be able to move the door that far, okay? And I'm okay with that. I think that's minor. If you come up with a plan, like Commissioner Johnson is saying, when you move, if you move the utility box or something like that, then I would like to see something. But the way it is right now, if conceptually, I don't think you can deviate that far. So I'm okay with it. Does that answer the question? Yeah, that answers the question, doesn't it?
Considering we didn't talk about utilities and moving the building, I'm going to say yes, that you're okay with the 8 conditions.
Yes, I'm okay with the conditions unless they move that utility box. Then it throws everything out of kilter. They has to come back. Okay, so that would be major. Everything else is just minor. Did I make myself
Sure, I'm
as
going to go with,
unclear as can be?
I'm going to go with a yes.
Yes,
You're
thank
okay
you.
with them not returning. Okay. Commissioner Powers.
Wow.
It's either, it's real easy. We have the 8 conditions here. We have the 8 conditions. If you don't feel comfortable with them moving forward and you want them back, then you say, no, I'm not comfortable with it, I want them back. Because we could go into caveats the whole night on these things. And I'm just looking for a consensus.
So are these items that are gonna be committed to be done? I guess that's what I'm asking.
They are conditions.
They're conditions?
Yes, they're
so
conditions, and part of the approval is they have to be done. Yes.
I would hope at some point in time we would get some kind of final plans, but in order not to hold them back, I guess I'm okay with just letting it move forward.
Thank you. Commissioner Stylen.
I will vote yes. However, I have a solution that I will talk about in other business.
Okay, great. Commissioner Johnson.
I would prefer to see a finished elevation, especially on that west side. They talked about 2 doors, 3 doors. Whether they move the utilities or not, I'm concerned about how that's going to end up looking, so I say no.
Okay, Commissioner Dorban.
No.
Commissioner Burns.
No. In addition to 8 conditions, which is quite a lot, which could be cleared up with another revision at another visit to us here before the Plan Commission, there's this hurdle with me that the floor plan just isn't consistent with the site plan and with the elevations. I know it's conceptual, but it seems to me that some things have to move if that's really where the utilities are going in and where the workroom's going to be. No, sir.
So you're no. So it's up to me. And I actually am, I am okay with moving forward with this, with the conditions that we have, that they're going to be done. As far as the interior goes, I'm not certain how much play as a plan commission we have on the interior of a building, as long as it's not significantly impacting the exterior or any other type of the building. I'm not certain how much leverage we have there. Based upon, and I wasn't here at the last meeting, based upon the discussions that were at the last meeting and this meeting, I think this group is working in good faith that these things will be done. And, again, we're depending upon the staff and the inspectors to have these plans as they move forward to ensure that they're done the way we want them. To Commissioner Stylen's point about, exterior utilities, we've seen utilities, things like that, that somehow our inspectors go out there and these things are obvious out there and they're never corrected. So fool me once and, just fool me once, because if it happens, this will be, this or something like this will come back to us. So I'm okay with moving forward with this. So I get to pay the big bucks. So, any other comments? No? So do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and second. Mr. Secretary. please
Motion was
vote.
made by Commissioner Dorban. Commissioner Dorban.
Yes.
Commissioner Stylen.
I did second, yes.
You did. Commissioner Burns.
No.
Commissioner Johnson, I say no. Commissioner Powers,
Yes.
Commissioner Schaaf,
Yes.
and Chairman Rafano.
Yes.
5 yeses, 2 nos.
Do I have a motion to close?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
That closes it. We just have something for you to sign. Don't let us down.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes,
Can we take 2-3 minutes, please?
I'll give you 5.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all. in session. Let's find our, approval of minutes, February 14th. Do I hear a motion?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I'll second the motion, and I'd like to, there was a typo I found in there.
Well, before you second it, tell us what the typo is.
The Save-A-Lot, I'm trying to get to my, the Save-A-Lot plans to advertise by mail, not by mile.
Okay.
Let me see what page that was on. It's page 36 on the iPad. It was page 2 of the minutes.
Okay,
Got it, Andrew?
got it?
All right, thanks.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Abstain.
Abstain.
Aye. All right. Other business, questions, number A, before we get to individual questions from Commission regarding previously distributed comprehensive plan checklist to be addressed by staff.
I have not received any particular questions. If there's something, if you've had a chance to review it, I can try my best to answer now. Otherwise, we can field questions over the next few weeks and talk about it at the next meeting.
Do you want us to bring them up now or just email them to you? I mean, because there was, I mean, they're all across the board. I had a whole bunch of little things that, you know. And maybe,
It
I don't know.
depends on what the nature of the questions is.
Well,
we can,
I mean, okay, like some of the tables are old.
Okay.
Certainly from the census has changed. There's things about, like the London School overpass, that's been corrected. There's the Johnson piece of property, those kinds of things. The expansion of Prairie Park, you know, the buildings along McHenry Road that, because it addresses the older houses that are gone. Let's see, some of the housing ages, that's changed slightly. There's a lot of those things, you know, nestled throughout the whole comprehensive plan that, you know, I'm not sure what's the best way to address it, but I mean, it goes all the way through it.
So I guess I think this is a good general question for the commission is as you're doing the worksheet, these are the types of things that you're noticing, and the intention of this exercise is really to kind of come up with a discussion. So taking the notes as you've done, all the commissioners would also take their notes, going through, and we would come back together and go through and compare these notes and make a decision as to whether or not the modification, you know, the changes to the community are significant in a way that the comprehensive plan no longer applies. Obviously, a comprehensive plan is meant to be long-term, it's meant to be very broad. It does have some specific implementation ideas in it, but it is meant to be a fairly long-term guide. So they are designed to absorb some amount of change in the market and
Well, I don't have an issue, I understand that. I mean, I understand the whole idea of the comprehensive plan, but we're already talking, this was July of 2003, this is 10 years ago, folks. So, I mean, we've had enough changes that I think that we've already addressed this in the very beginning, that we talked about doing this every 5 years. We're already 5 years behind. So, which means we're 10 years behind because we didn't do it 5 years.
So that would be a vote for.
Do you know what I'm
updating
saying?
the plan.
I just think that there's enough here that, you know, maybe we should divide this up in segments and start just going through it. I mean, there's enough here that we could take it by segment, and if there's nothing in each chapter that we want to discuss, or then we don't do anything. But I just don't want to see us just say, okay, fine, it's okay now, and we go on another few more years and don't update this.
I guess this is the point of the exercise, I think, is to facilitate that discussion. And I think that you're probably a couple meetings ahead of that. So I think that is the staff intention, is to have that discussion of, the worksheet is really intended to try to cut down on the review time so that each commissioner has some questions to guide this review. Then we get back together, we say, look, yes, this is outdated, however, the overall goals and objectives of this section still apply, the implementation still makes sense, and then we go to the next section. So I think that's kind of the...
I guess I was looking at something a little more structured, that we address maybe 1, 2, and 3, or 1 and 2, and then go on to,
But I don't think you can do that, Pam, because you can't isolate specific questions that are going to address every single topic in every single section of the comprehensive plan. What I view this as is kind of a general boilerplate areas of concern, not in any particular numerical order or order of priority, but just things to watch out for as we go through the plan, and then kind of highlight where this particular area might need some updating or tweaking, and not because it's economic development pages dictate, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and one other suggestion that I would have is, and maybe this is sort of the missing link here, is one thing we could do is give you some links to a couple of comp plan updates other than our own. Buffalo Grove and Northbrook have some comp plan updates that are, they take their document comparable to our 2003 document, and they'll put together maybe a 10-page update, and it'll say, it'll have a table that replaces the demographic table. So it'll say, these are the things that we view as being a significant change. Overall, the goals and objectives, mostly fine. Here are some updates that we'd like to document, and they record that. And so maybe that's one thing that Brooke and I can do, is give you some examples of the types of updates that some communities have done without overhauling the entire plan.
well, I wasn't thinking in terms of overhauling the whole thing, but I was thinking in terms of at least bringing it up the 10 years that we're behind. I mean, if somebody were to look at some of these charts from 2000, they're going to think they're pretty old. What have we been doing for the last 10 years?
Good point.
Are there any other comments?
When I first started to look at this, the first thing, of course, ran into was just like Pam, using the 2000 census. Well, we've changed. And the more I looked at it, the less impact it had, because the percentages haven't changed that much. So the exercise would be, do we update, go from the census 2000 to the census 2010? Yeah, I don't think it had that much of an impact in my mind. Interesting. But it does look a little, fishy?
Looks old.
Yeah, it looks old.
Yeah.
Outdated.
I mean, the percentages overall might not have changed much, but it's really not current. And if we're not interested in making it current, then it's a futile effort. But if we're looking to make this current, then we need to make it current. I mean, there was a lot of months put into, doing it the first time.
So do we do that? Do we do that as we go through each section?
mean, the checklist that we've put together is
Can you bring up the checklist?
not on the screen. I have it,
And I have the Word version, the worksheet.
yes, the worksheet. More of a worksheet than a checklist now.
Right, yeah, I see the checklist, sorry.
So I guess one of the things that I would suggest is doing a trial run with it.
Sure.
Take a look
So-
at it, read a little bit, read the worksheet, read the questions in the worksheet, and then skim through a section of the plan. And I think,
Okay, so let's not just say, let's skim through a section of the plan. Let's pick a section and do that. Yes.
You know, I guess the thing, I think we need to have a walkthrough to go through this stuff, just to indicate the things that we think need to be changed. Because I don't want Mike to go out and look for the demographic information that he thinks needs to be changed, and Pam on her own go out and do the demographic research, and Don, you're going to go out and do this. We're all going to do the exact same stuff. So let's just isolate where we think changes need to be, and then one of us or together go out and get the demographic data or whatever the changes are, so we're not all replicating the exact same task. You know what I mean?
what we're attempting to do in this is not assign a vast amount of research work. What we're trying to do is more of a feel than more feel than science right now. We're trying to facilitate a discussion of the plan without, to Commissioner Salmon's point, without having everybody go out and do this research. We're not looking for
in-depth.
We're not looking for the commissioners to go to the U.S. Census website, download the tables, put them side to side. What we're looking for is, based on your experience with this commission and your experience with development in this in Wheeling, are the elements of this plan still relevant? Is it by feel more so than science? And if the end result of that is that yes, however, we'd like you to go ahead and replace the demographic section for us, and then we all get back together and do a update for the whole sub-area section and replace that out, similar to how the active transportation plan just swapped out part of chapter 6. We just knocked out a few pages of chapter 6, replaced it with a 100-page document, and done. So something similar to that. If the sub-area plan section is no longer the way that we view the village being broken up geographically, you take those 2 or 3 sub-areas out, replace them with however many more. Maybe it's 3 sub-areas, replace 2. If there's cohesive areas that are developing in a new way, and it's no longer relevant to look at the sub-area plan from 2003, swap it out. And I think that's more what we're looking for, is take a look at the plan. Don't spend hours a night on the census website trying to compare apples to apples with the census tables. But have there been major developments in a sub-area, like Commissioner Doran was saying, this is different. Somebody has parceled out an area that we thought was going to be developed as one piece. Maybe that means we do a sub-area update for that one. So I think that's, I hope that I'm doing a better job of explaining this now, and that you aren't viewing this as a really intense research exercise. This is much more feel
Okay,
than
so
that.
can we use, the way I thought we were going to do this is if we, for instance, and use the word subsection? Is
The
that
sub-area?
Sub-area is what's your definition of sub-area? Is a sub-area on the comp plan issues and opportunities, land use and natural resources, community image design, or is it something even deeper than that?
So when I'm referring to sub-area, I'm referring to the geographic sub-areas. There's a section of sub-area plans within the code.
Within the comp plan?
Sorry, excuse me, within the comp plan. The elements of the plan, so when the questions in the worksheet refer to elements,
Right.
that's the housing element, that's the transportation element, that's more topic-based. So you've got issues and opportunity, which are broad issues relating to all aspects of Wheeling. You've got elements, so housing, et cetera, and then you've got these sub-areas.
Does everybody understand that? So, taking the worksheet that you presented us, taking those questions that are there and applying those, are you applying those to the sub-areas?
The worksheet's broken down. There are some, I think there's 3 parts, I think were A, B, and C.
Right. I'm swapping back and forth between Goodreader and the Word document. So
if you look at the document, mine isn't working, but if you look at the document, there's a section that is very broad.
Part A is general questions.
General questions.
Right.
You could almost do that without looking at the plan. I mean, they're more, thank you.
Right.
So there are, a lot of it is experience-based. How do you feel about the development in Wheeling? What things stand out to you? Some of these questions, major employers, new ones, major employers that left. So if you see major parts of a community changing that aren't factored into the comprehensive plan, maybe that alone has some, you take the Glen. That's a big piece of Glenview. I'm sure that they modified their comprehensive plan in some way when that parcel, when that land area became developable. So I think there are things that you can take a look at that without pouring through the document.
Okay. And then part B is the broad overview of the main elements of the comprehensive plan.
And that's future land use,
Right.
transportation, housing, natural resources. So those, and then you've got implementation action.
So these are just highlighted questions in each one of these areas that we should look at.
Yes. That's and after we had the last discussion about this, when we updated this, we tried to get out of the checklist format and into the worksheet format to try to emphasize the general nature, the broad nature of this exercise. We put in some, so you're not looking through the entire plan. We flipped through the plan to find some of the page numbers so that you don't have to sit there with the table of contents and try to figure out what we're talking about.
Commissioner Powers.
Yeah, I mean, for example, I think something I would see is like the Lake Hook Road sub-area. Now we have the Weston there, but that's really not depicted in that sub-area map, so that's something I'd probably want to see updated. And I think we're talking about stuff like that, right?
Yes.
So I would assume that if a developer came in and wanted to see our comprehensive plan, we'd show them, and then I think that's why we'd want to update it, so they would see those type of updates.
So to Commissioner Dorban's point, there are areas that she's seen that we as a commission probably feel that should be updated to put together.
Yeah, I would agree with what Pam has to say, absolutely.
Right, yeah, so.
And I think that's the point of when we get back together.
Okay.
Compare notes on.
All right, so let's say it's a month down the road, we're getting together. What are we going to look at first?
If everyone is able to take some time and make some general notes, if you have the Word document, that might be a way to break up the document and just write up a couple of notes so that we can go through and sort of talk about the general topics. I think that is the end result of this, I think, would be after that discussion, we are deciding what is the priority for us to update. Is the sub area the most in need of an update? Are the sub areas themselves no longer representative of the character of development that was anticipated in 2003? Is the plan outdated just by the fact that new development came in that wasn't anticipated, and now there's a change of course that's needed in the plan? That's kind of what I think we're getting at, is evaluate the highest priorities for updates.
So the task is to look at sub-areas in general for the next go-round on this. Isn't that what you were looking for, Jim?
Yes. Thank you.
So we're going to look at all the sub-areas, or just the first one, or? Let's just take a look at all the sub-areas and see which ones we think have changed, and maybe if there needs to be new additions or subtractions. How about that? That's kind of general enough.
Yeah. And yes, I would. Yes. So that, I'm trying to get my, so really that's in the land use natural resources area. And right now listed is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sub-areas, planning sub-areas, right? Milwaukee Avenue, Lake Cook Road, Dundee Road, sub-area, McHenry Road, and Wolf Ridge. And then okay. So I'm just trying to put some form around this. So let's review those. Let's target a date.
Is a month too long to put this off?
Well, let's see, we've got a meeting next week, 4th. Just based upon the schedule, it's probably going to be a month anyway. Because we're either talking the 11th or the 18th. What do the agendas look like, Andrew?
As of right now, I think a late April meeting is probably a good target.
18th?
18th or 25th, probably a good target. And as we've got some items that we think are coming. We'll have to sort of see with the item next week if it's able to move on to the board or not, that sort of thing.
Okay. I think Commissioner Sun, just based upon the logistics of what's coming in, I think it's going to be a month, just based upon the calendar.
And then possibly another thing we might do to help out a little bit, I don't know, if as we go through, we have some concepts or ideas, if we sent them to Andrew and Jim to maybe give a little idea, yeah, you're on the right track, no, that's not where we wanted to go, or fine tune it a little bit, so that we could get an idea of how to navigate this path maybe a little bit better than dumping everything a month from now at a meeting, you know what I mean? Would that be too much work for you guys during the month to get ad hoc comments?
No, I think if and maybe that's one way to approach it, is to have a agreed on target date for providing staff comments so that we can try to assemble it. So
Okay.
that we can structure the discussion based on the comments that we receive.
Okay.
So that we can maybe cut,
Consolidate the
consolidate.
ideas and.
group them
Yeah.
together and.
Is a week enough for you guys? Or let's say if, for instance, if we're having a meeting on the 25th on these sub-areas, by the 15th of April, have your comments into Andrew and Brooke by the 15th, so they have some time to compile them. And we're just focusing on the sub-areas.
15th is a...
Monday.
It's a Monday.
Yep.
The staff, will be out during the day for several days, 15th, 16th, 17th.
Well, if we give them to you by the 15th,
Then we'll have them by the 18th.
then you'll have them by the 18th. Then when you come in, we'll have them by the 25th.
Right. I mean, I guess I don't think there's any particular harm in that. If we have a meeting,
25th?
if we have a meeting on the 25th and we are not ready, we won't put it on the agenda.
Fine. But we do need to get started on this. Okay, so this time around, we've got our worksheet that we can use, and we're going to review the sub-areas. And see where we think things need to be changed or added. Okay? Great. We're moving. Anything else about
So the timeline is by the 15th?
by April 15th,
Okay.
tax day? Turn in your taxes, you turn in the information to the staff. And don't switch them around, because I don't think they'll want your taxes. And by the 25th, April 25th, they'll compile them, and we'll discuss them at the meeting of the 25th. Again, that's dependent upon what is coming through on, from agenda items. Okay. Anything else? Okay, then let's move to other business. Do you have anything else, Mr. Jennings?
No, I don't.
Ms. Jones, anything? Except Mr. Jennings will not be here next week. Ms. Jones will be up on the dais and up on the board with us.
Which I guess is a good point. Make sure that you send all of your questions and comments.
To both Brooke and Andrew,
Yes.
right? You should be doing that anyway, if you have questions.
In particular this week.
Yeah, in particular this week. Right. So, Commissioner Burns.
Thank you. So tonight, we voted to recommend approval for Starbucks to the village board. One of the 8 enumerated items on that petition was the floor plan as submitted on March 1st. I was real uncomfortable approving a floor plan that didn't conform to the site plan and to the elevations. And they were talking about putting in a service door along with the utility hookup on the southwest side of the building. Well, if you look at the floor plan, they've got basically seating area in the southwest side of the building on the floor plan. I guess for me to be comfortable with a petitioner's plan, I need to see those things agree with each other. I want to see where the site plan, for instance, showed a utility room in the same place that if the floor plan shows tables and chairs and no utility room. So I guess I'd have been comfortable approving everything except the floor plan, or continuing it until the architect had a chance to reconfigure the floor plan so that it actually made sense. Did anybody else feel that way, or did I miss something? That's my reservation with, and why I voted no to approve the Starbucks plan. I thought it was, it still needed some work.
Mr. Stein.
Mike, I agree. I have an uncomfortable feeling with any incomplete plan, right? And the real question is that something that we should delay the petitioner from moving forward and getting approval for what he wants to do? Now, I have a suggestion to maybe alleviate some of that. Jim, do you want me to go into that now, or?
Yep, it ties perfectly to what Commissioner Burns.
Mike, now what happens if, I mean, they're going to redo the plans before it goes to the village board. Do you agree with that? They have to do that.
Well, based on what happened here tonight, maybe they don't, but I would hope so. They have work to do, for sure.
Okay,
we had 8 conditions.
Which I would guess means that when the village board gets their packet about 5 days before the meeting, maybe. I mean, it also gets published on the website and whatever, the plans, the minutes of our meeting, everything gets published somewhere. My concept is we have 5 days, all of us, to look at those plans. And if there's something that we don't like, we don't agree to, whatever, we write Jim or Andrew a letter, email letter, and our composite collective statements of whatever we write to Andrew or Jim get delivered to the board that night. So if there's something on the plan that you don't like, Mike, the board will be able to see a paragraph or whatever isolating out that particular thing. And if the board chooses to send it back to us, then at least, I mean, we're covered in more than just hoping that the plan gets adjusted. Do you think something like that might work? I mean, we can at least get an addendum into the village board if something serious enough changes that we may have concern with.
Could that work? Yes. But isn't the normal process that we work that stuff out here at the Plan Commission rather than with last minute emails to Andrew to deliver to the village board that they may or may not receive and or read on meeting night?
And you're right, and you're right, and that's what we're to do. But in tonight's case, we had a full board, and the option was, on this particular one, the option was for it to go to the village board with the conditions that would be worked into the final plans. So, to me, what we're doing works, because we all had an option to say yes or no, bring it back. It's not like it's not like anybody was forced one way or another to say yes or no. As I've said before, if you don't feel comfortable moving it forward, then don't move it forward. And tonight, it just so happened that 3 people weren't comfortable with doing it, 3 were, and I was too. So I think we took the right path in this situation. Well, right or wrong, we had consensus, and we did what consensus wanted to do tonight for this particular one. What Commissioner Stylen is talking about, and I got to tell you, this isn't going to happen that often. If it does, then we need to rethink what we're doing here. That if I have to, as chairman, do a consensus every time to say, should this be sent to the board or not, then we need to rethink what we're doing. So I don't think it's going to happen that often. And I think if we get an opportunity to review that before it goes to the board and state some additional things that we're not seeing here, or the conditions weren't met, that we can strongly suggest to the village board that it comes back to us.
If I could just interject from the staff perspective, when we take a plan that receives a recommendation like this, and it's moving on to the board, we take the approach of not so much the number of conditions of approval, but the impact of the conditions of approval. So you could have 20 conditions of approval that represent relatively minor changes. They could be relatively easy for us to visualize. You have a couple, have 3 crab apples, or you don't have 3 crab apples. These are things that I think we can relatively easily convey to the board. The director of our department can convey those to the board. If there's a question about the Plan Commission's review, he's there, he's able to answer it. The questions that I think are on the other end of that is if you have a condition of approval that makes a drastic change to the site plan. You're changing a building in such a way we don't know whether or not the parking is going to fit. A condition of approval like that, even though it's just one, by its impact, we would probably suggest that we cannot visualize what's going to happen to this plan, and we don't think we can convey it to the board. So from our perspective, and I think from the petitioner's perspective too, that you can have conditions of approval, and what we do is when we get them, when we get the plans, some petitioners take the approach of, I would like to go ahead and address all of these things before the board sees it, and they'll change the plan to include the three crab apples right away, and definitely do it. And on some aspects of the motion, maybe maybe they won't be able to modify the plan, and that condition remains in the ordinance. But it's more for our purposes. It's the consensus of the commission. If you are comfortable, you can visualize the changes, and you have a consensus. It's really more the nature of the conditions.
And I guess, Andrew, it is nature conditions. But in this case, why can't we see something like this at the same time? We're now electronic, so you don't have to print out extra copies for us. And I don't know how much input you have into the packet that the village board gets. And I know there's a lot more stuff in there that, we're not interested in personnel, things like that. But why can't we get that sliced out?
Well, the website has all the plans and stuff, and findings of fact, and our meeting minutes are all in.
But it doesn't have the final plans.
It better have the final plans.
On the website.
Yeah, I think it just doesn't have
the board. Yeah, the version that's going to the board is.
When does that go out? When is that out on the website?
I think they post it Thursday. We have it done. It goes to the board. Yeah.
Well,
Maybe the
okay.
board gets it Thursday and then it's on the website.
I mean, can it be easily sent to us too? I mean, that section of it. If we request it now,
The easiest thing I think we can do is just to send you the alert that it's been posted to the website. If you look at the website, the way that their packet is presented, it's pretty similar to your packet. You can click on the item and jump to it. So you can go down their agenda.
Okay.
It'll say Starbucks.
I would like to do that at least for Starbucks, and then,
Maybe we could just request with the manager's office that you get the update when we get the update, that the commission is on the distribution, that notifies us that the packet is posted on the web.
That'd be great. Okay. And let's see how it goes.
But then I think we still need some, if we're uncomfortable with whatever the result is, we need a way to convey that information to the village board without having to show up at the meeting and speak in public comments or whatever.
Yeah, and I don't think that's our place anyway, at that point in time.
But I mean, if
But
we
you're
could
right.
just send Andrew an email that he could consolidate and
Right.
put on the board's,
I think to avoid the Open Meetings Act question that presents, I think if it really depends on what you're asking. If it's we messed up, I think definitely let the chair and staff know, and we figure out how to deal with whatever the content is. But I think you do run the chance that notifying the board that you have a problem with the plan does have the potential to have an Open Meetings Act issue of.
Why?
we're not communicating with
We're not
each other.
communicating with
You're not
each other.
communicating with each other, but you
I'm talking
are communicating that the motion and the recommendation is incorrect.
So if I sent the village board an email saying that I did not agree with the changes that they made to the plans, that would be okay.
I'm not saying that there's not a chance that it wouldn't be okay. I'm saying you run the risk that if you communicate after the vote has been taken, if you communicate a different understanding of what happened than what is documented in the findings, I think it is best for the chair and staff to see it, double check and make sure that, we can compare it to we will watch the video, we'll, compare it and make sure. I think that's probably the safest way to make sure that there isn't a issue.
But we would still be communicating that information to
Just to you,
you guys.
not to,
To the chair and.
right.
Chair and staff, and
They're
then
not communicating with the village board.
and we figure out what to do.
Right.
It's possible that people make mistakes. It's possible that we put the wrong plan in. I think it just gives us a chance to see what the issue is that has been brought to our attention and talk about what the appropriate action is. We can pull something off the agenda if we need to. I mean, there's a bunch of different ways we can handle something, but I think if you send it to both of us, we can get together and talk about it.
Mike, do you think some activity or process like that might help mitigate your concern a little bit?
No, let me state it another way maybe and make sure that, first let me say I wasn't criticizing anything procedural, Jim, about taking a consensus or.
Oh, no, I know that.
Or criticizing, the commissioners that didn't vote.
Oh, sure.
The same way I did. My question and my discomfort is, or my confusion and discomfort is just that, how can I vote to approve a floor plan that everybody seems to agree is really just conceptual and could change, but here's one graphic of how it could look, and could work. Well, wait a minute.
Or we might move the windows, or we might add an additional door or two.
Well, when you figure that out, put it, on something I can look at, and then I can vote on it.
Well, and I don't think you have to vote yes. You voted the way you wanted to vote. I don't think you have to vote yes at all. I think you did the right,
But
that's why you're here.
But he still has a concern, though. And why shouldn't his concern be addressed somehow? Shouldn't he still have the ability to say this, whatever, when they finalize it, it isn't the way that I thought it was going to be, so.
I understand that, but in this case, as a consensus, we as a board moved it forward as a consensus. So there's two pieces to that.
Okay.
How Commissioner Burns voted, and he felt that he should vote no because of the issues that he brought up, which is perfectly fine. But even before that, the consensus was, do we continue this to another meeting? And we took a consensus vote, and the consensus vote was, let's move it forward. Doesn't change your vote, doesn't change Commissioner Johnson's vote.
Right.
Doesn't change that at all. And I actually don't think, short of continuing it, I don't think anything that we do will satisfy Commissioner Burns's vote.
Or mine.
Or Commissioner Johnson's vote. Because we have, right, I don't see that.
But if he saw the final plan, that could change his vote.
Make a big difference.
But I think what Commissioner Burns and Commissioner Johnson, and I'm putting words in their mouth, is they want to see the final plan with us voting on it, not seeing the final plan before it goes to the village board.
Yeah,
I agree with that. Yeah, absolutely. My best opportunity to comment on this docket or any other that comes before us is right here at the commission meeting. And actually, this is probably where the only place I should be discussing, substantive things that come before the commission. I know I'm still a citizen and I can still communicate with the members of the village board, but once it's passed me, I think I've had my best opportunity. My opinion is going to be quite clear to them in the minutes and on the video, and they'll use their best judgment to vote the way they vote at a village board meeting, and there's no need for me to communicate with them again.
So what happens, though, if we put in a condition in the conditions that said that, for example, any additional commissioner comments would be addressed directly to staff as a result of seeing the final plan?
Well,
then it would say
I don't think we need that, but you do remind me of a great song from the 60s. I'm just going to check in to see what condition my condition is in.
Exactly.
No, I think that would be opening it up to any petitioner saying, well, here's a concept, move it along, and you'll get a chance to talk about it later.
But that happens a lot, right? I mean, we have, on any given night, we refer stuff to staff that says, hey, staff, you take care of it. It could possibly conceivably be treated as an incomplete plan by any one of us.
But if we're talking about 2 trees or 3 trees versus what 2 walls of this building are going to look like, we don't know what the Lake Cook Road side is going to look like. We don't know what the west elevation is going to look like. Because the floor plan that is conceptual, and they kept using that word, is conceptual. We don't know where those doors are going to be. And I threw out that idea about moving the utilities, and he said, oh, maybe I'll talk about that with that other guy, even though I know it's expensive. But I think moving the patio to the front makes a lot more sense and solves some of their other issues.
I think just for the purposes of our legislation, the interior of the building, the primary purpose of the interior building is the parking count.
Oh, I understand that.
So I think just as an example of what happens to a restaurant over time if it changes hands, and we actually have 2 of these that we're doing next week. When somebody takes over a restaurant, when we do their business license, we look at the original legislation, and I would say greater than 50% of restaurants change the interior layout from whoever was previously there. So what we make them sign on to is the exterior and the concept of the interior. How many seats are there? do you have a stage? Do you have a dance floor? So for us, on the staff side, I think that when we view a floor plan, a prototype floor plan or conceptual floor plan, by itself isn't problematic for us because we do see them change. We also see them change during permit review as they get one more layer of detail about exactly where their electric panel is and you can't block it, et cetera, et cetera. So things get changed a little bit that way. But where I think the floor plan relates to the exterior of the building, now you have some questions. Well, people are exiting there. There's a driveway there, right there. Mm-hmm. Can they see through that door or not? That kind of thing, I think, is a totally valid question for the Plan Commission to work through.
Yeah, I don't care where they put their tables, but where that utility room ends up has a big impact on the exterior.
I don't think anything is going to get resolved tonight. What I'd like to see is, Andrew, at least on this one specifically, if we can get notice when that's going to be on the website.
Okay.
And I would just say, Commissioner Burns, continue to question and vote how you feel that we should be voting. How you feel, based upon what you know, how you should vote. And you never know, you could influence us in any way. You can influence me, the ones, in this particular case, the ones that voted yes to move it forward. So, Commissioner Dorband.
Nothing, thank you.
Commissioner Johnson.
Nothing further.
Commissioner Schaaf.
Thank you. I have to comment on the Starbucks. I think they're going to be a lot busier than what they think they're going to be. I think they're going to get a lot of traffic from the Lexington, and in rethinking, going back over this, yeah, the interior may have a part in what the exterior looks like, but in voting the way I did, I didn't think. They're going to have to, keep certain things a certain way. I know we've batted that around. The other thing is I've seen a lot of activity around Save-A-Lot, and I think they're about ready to open. Big trucks, semis coming through that says Save-A-Lot. A lot of cars parked out thinking that they're stocking, so they're probably ready to open. Thank you.
Commissioner Powers.
I have nothing.
Commissioner Steinle.
Nothing, thank you.
Return the real Terry and nobody will get hurt.
I have nothing either. A reminder, we do have a meeting next Thursday, 28th. So do I hear a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?